All right, so Fidelity could be entering the game in terms of the crypto market. More importantly is what kind of effect are they having on crypto, especially Ethereum and Bitcoin. We're going to dive in deep today, take a look at the app. We'll also take a look at maybe the strategic plan of how this could affect mainstream adoption. That's really what this is all going to be about. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Let's get into it today. I do want to thank our sponsor. This is a little bit more and a little different way of custodying your own crypto, and that is by using Ledger. Make sure, and if you are looking to go into digital assets and say you don't necessarily want to trust Fidelity with it, or maybe you buy on Fidelity or on something else and you want to look at moving those assets. And we'll talk about whether or not you can do that with Fidelity here in a minute. But the key here is that you can get into self-custody. It's a really simple process. You use a device. These devices are very simple to use and set up. It's not a complicated thing. Anybody can do it. You've got a lot to choose from, including the Ledger Stacks, which is their new device coming out very soon, the Ledger Nano X, and also the S Plus. The S Plus is an interesting device. It's one of the lower costs, so make sure and check that out just by clicking the link down below. All right, let's get into it. So we did a video about 4 months ago. It was really taking a look at the early stages of where Fidelity stands. And one of the things that I was critical of was the fact that, one, there's no way out of the app in terms of taking your Bitcoin or your Ethereum out. And that to me is still the number one clarity on a true investing platform. Now, there's a lot that has changed in those 4 months, including the launch of the app. We actually have launched it ourselves. We've got a test account we're going to be showing you guys a little bit about today. But there's a lot here that has really kind of accelerated, I think, to where the future of Fidelity is going. This, of course, is their homepage. You can kind of go over and look. They've got 40 million people now, 23,000 businesses, and 3,600 advisory firms in this. Again, heavy density here. I think overall, this is one of those that you can trust. They've been doing digital assets since 2018, which was a little surprising to me. I did not realize they had gone back that far. And then if you look at the amount of assets they have under administration right now, 10.3 trillion, that's a pretty significant amount. And when you think about the number of individuals that might start to, experiment with crypto, this could become a very significant component in the next run on the bull run for where crypto could run, especially around Bitcoin and Ethereum. I want to get into further. If you're looking at another aspect of Fidelity is digital asset custody and trading platforms built for institutions. This is where we get into institutional adoption, something we've talked about here on the show quite a bit. The opportunity there for additional adoption from institutions really kind of centers around a few things, and one is the cold storage. If you look at, they've got a secure your custody at our core. They've got offline cold vaulted storage. You've got optimized custody, multi-tiered approval structure. Key is they've put a lot of work into being able to kind of curtail a lot of the services to where it meets the demands and needs of some of these investment companies out there when it looks at institutional capital coming into the space. Further into this, I want to show you a little bit more of how a normal person would jump into Fidelity. You're going to go to their normal website and open an account. I will kind of walk you through my experience. And in opening the account, it's actually very simple to get a regular trading account for an individual. Going through the business process, it's a little bit more clunky. You have to download a PDF, fill it out, submit it to their review process, and you can set your business up on this. The cool thing is that it will link your two accounts. The other thing that's kind of interesting within this is once that you've got your regular trading account open, your brokerage account, and your cash management account, then it instructs you to open your crypto account. So at that point, you're actually opening a secondary account that runs within your app. And we'll show you how that and what that looks like here in a minute. But essentially, that's the process. It's not complicated. It's very easy for you guys to, maybe if you're not a Fidelity customer right now, and maybe you're brand new to Bitcoin, maybe you're brand new to digital assets in general, and you're saying, well, I just want a place that I can trust, or I've used on a brokerage, I trade a few stocks, I want to move something over from somewhere else, And maybe this is the route because it's an all unified thing, and you don't necessarily want to go the Robinhood route, which essentially is the same thing over there. Robinhood, obviously, the advantage that Robinhood has is they have an open wallet now. They also have a separate DeFi wallet. They also have a lot of tokens that you can bring in. But Robinhood pretty much cut their teeth on Dogecoin if you think about their growth. Fidelity, I think, is going after a different customer base. It's going after the people who are not even crypto curious yet, but I think this will have a big effect on the overall market, not only in adoption, but what will happen is the crypto curious may fall back into Fidelity and look at this as a safe haven. Right now, I think a lot of people look at either Coinbase or maybe even Robinhood as US safe havens for their crypto. This may be the place for Bitcoin, especially if Fidelity, and they are going to talk about this here in a minute in these clips, starts to change their tune around getting your Bitcoin in and out. We'll talk about that in a moment. I want to go to this first clip. This kind of talks a little bit about their custody and storage strategy and why it makes sense for what they're doing. Listen into what they had to say.
Very much an oversimplification, but think about an omnibus fashion or omnibus structure of our custody being that clients' assets are stored together within a common set of wallets. But then what we do is we then record in our core accounting systems the ownership of those assets on a per account basis. So that's our core record of who owns those assets. You'll see in the depiction here, right? It's not one wallet that we maintain on chain, but we maintain a core set of Fidelity wallets, Fidelity kind of exposure on the blockchain, where we're storing all those client assets in hot and cold wallets. It's really important to note that the aggregate value in our accounting system is equal to the value that we hold on chain. And so while we're not building
All right, so what I want to get to there is the omnibus wallet. I mean, this is a strategy I think that eventually will probably go away. They may still use it, I think, for certain people who want to use custody within the app itself. But for those who want to eventually self-custody Bitcoin and they use Fidelity as the gateway to Bitcoin, that may change a little bit. But I get what they're doing, and I like the security level of this. It doesn't necessarily fly into the framework of how blockchain works in general because most of that is open. So they have one wallet out there on the blockchain. They're building a backside wallet in the omnibus to house all those assets underneath that. So security-wise, it's a good strategy. I like what they're doing so far. Let's listen to some other clips here because it explains further into their strategies of how they're going to move forward. Listen to what they had to say.
About the things that Fidelity Digital Assets doesn't do. You listed a lot of the things we do. What don't we do? Because that's almost as important.
Yeah, it definitely is. So for starters, we don't use third-party custodians for crypto, and that's not true of all crypto custodians or exchanges. Mm-hmm. And so everything is vertically done, sort of in-house at Fidelity. So when you use the Fidelity Investments app, any Bitcoin or ETH you may decide to purchase is stored by Fidelity Digital Assets using the security practices that I just sort of discussed a minute ago. So everything.
All right, so key there is they're not using Fireblocks and others out there in terms of security measurements. They're using everything in-house. So they're kind of home growing that process. Being a leading brokerage, I'm not opposed to that. I'm okay with that in the essence of, now I always like that diversity in case we do see a cataclysmic event in the brokerage categories start to come into play. We've already seen some pretty massive sell-offs in terms of just the publicly over-the-counter stock trades of a lot of these kinds of companies. So that worries me a little bit in that sense. And what I would say to you guys is the strategy that we use, not financial advice to you, but the way I approach it is diversification in the financial stack. Much like a tech stack, you look at ways that you can look at being able to handle major setbacks or major issues with one without exposing the data or whatever you're doing in the technology stack to others. So they're doing that exact same thing within the financial stack, meaning lots of accounts, lots of brokerages. I know it's a lot to manage these, but even if you are not at the 250, it doesn't matter. The key here is the problem that it puts on you in your life if we run into, or your bank runs into, or your brokerage runs into any kind of situation that causes a bank run or any kind of scenario that plays out into that. So just think about those things as you're setting these up. Be diversified in all of that. Further into how they were dealing with Ethereum, this is something I think that's interesting to me, and I like the fact that they launched with both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we'll show you that in the app here in a moment. Let me play this clip for you guys.
Search at Fidelity Digital Assets. And in this short but comprehensive video series, myself and my colleague Matt Hogan are going to take you through Ethereum, what it is, some of its history, how it differs from Bitcoin, some of the risks, and the potential investment thesis.
All right, so what you see here is the fact that they are really rolling into education. And I think this, to me, is the number one thing. If you're going to start to move into mass adoption, this is where it starts. Great education in not only how to use Fidelity, but also the fact that they're going into the Ethereum solution, which in my opinion is probably the most advanced I've seen of any of these Main Street investment class houses. Even Robinhood does not really go into this level of education, and they could easily do that. Now, granted, the difference is, I think, the target audience for Fidelity versus what Robinhood does. Robinhood does drip marketing and drip education, which I think is more effective with certain demographics. But when you get into someone in, let's say, a Gen X or a boomer, or even to a certain extent, an aged millennial, then it's a little different. Their learning style is different. What they want to do in terms of understanding how things work is a little bit different. So I agree that their approach is pretty significant here. Let's go also further into what they're doing with Ethereum itself.
With the Ethereum token issuance schedule and the recent upgrade known as the merge, the issuance dropped by 90%. And because a little bit of Ether is burned with every token made on the Ethereum network, some people believe that Ether will actually become deflationary, or the supply will actually shrink rather than grow. Now, this has led to the narrative that Ether will become ultrasound money. However, we think that while one aspect of sound money is the inflation schedule, you don't want too much inflation, the other aspect of sound money is the issuance schedule itself. How knowable is it, and how enforceable is it? And so it still remains to be seen whether the current Ether schedule will remain for years in the future.
All right, so most of you already know this around how Ethereum's baseline works, what the structure is from the aspect of inflationary and deflationary, the component of how we're going to see possibly liquidation events when we see Shanghai, the upgrade that he's talking about there, actually happen. But the good thing is, this is a good explanation of what Ethereum is to someone that's brand new. This is exactly what they would want to understand around Ethereum. So I think that in itself is, again, I would give them probably a B+ on really going into that. Further into their digital assets, this was their research roundup in March of this year, and they go into the layer 2 development and other digital asset news. So what does this mean? Does this mean that maybe they're looking at maybe putting Matic on here, a layer 2 project? Or could we see other associated assets in the digital space, or especially in the crypto space around layer 2s, starting to make their way onto Fidelity? This would be an interesting thing to watch. They've got a lot of research here, Bitcoin and Ether returns compared. Cool thing is now they're even talking about ordinals. Now, to me, this is very forward thinking from a company and investment platform like Fidelity. Ordinals is I would say, a far reach to really understanding how Bitcoin and the connectivity to NFTs actually work. So they've done a good job there. I will be not be surprised if they don't lead the way out here for traditional finance firms and traditional asset managers to go into Bitcoin and Ethereum especially, possibly maybe even break the glass ceiling and start to really accelerate things within these altcoins. Because I think at the end of the day, these guys are looking for fees, they're looking for those spreads, they're looking for that trading data, and best of all, they're looking for the customer because they need that lifelong customer. That is a benefit to them for the potential of being able to gain volume and, of course, profitability. So very cool stuff. This was their further integration into Ethereum. Listen to what they had to say. Let me just...
Where I think you're going to see this shift in narrative from focusing on the merge and moving to proof of stake and all of that. And then that will be sort of in the rear view mirror, hopefully, from Ethereum's perspective, if it all goes successfully. And then the focus will be on scalability, user experience, and being able to sort of defend the network effects that Ethereum has in the smart contract space against alternative layer ones or this app chain.
All right, again, doing a great job of really kind of explaining what the potential is here for Ethereum going into the next level. Let's listen to what they had further to say about maybe wallets and cold storage, et cetera, and how this might work in the future.
Really valid case to be made that an omnibus structure allows you to make the optimal trade-off, right? So we don't currently have crypto withdrawals enabled with this initial launch of the Fidelity crypto offering, but I can say we're always innovating. We hear you, we hear everybody out there that's asking, and it is on the roadmap. And one of the key purposes of Omnibus Custody is its ability for us to allow customers to optimize for both this safety and accessibility or liquidity. So,
all right, so I think that's it's a good argument for the omnibus structure versus the ability to hold your own crypto. But the fact that they're putting this on the roadmap, in other words, a wallet address that you'd be able to move in and out of, to me, that is a very, very positive sign for the future of this. Further into the article here, let's go, or further into what they were talking about. This is a direct ask question on, can you transfer your Bitcoin? Listen to what they had to say.
Coin from your wallet or other exchanges to Fidelity. So Ramin, can you answer that one? Someone maybe has traded earlier, they have Bitcoin elsewhere, they want to bring it over to Fidelity.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we hear the need. The initial rollout of this platform was meant to be kind of simple and streamlined. But that being said, we understand the need for transfers into and out of your account. This is something that is on our roadmap, as Jack has mentioned before. It's something that we do for our institutional client base and has been done for years now. So just to reiterate, it's very much a high priority for us, and we'll continue to keep you updated. But it is on our roadmap.
All right. So what you see here is just the crypto side of this. You'll notice right there at the top, you've got Fidelity Crypto. If you pull that down, it's going to give you access to your regular brokerage account, which is and/or your money management account. There's a lot of services within Fidelity that you can use, including bill pay and other things. Including a debit card. So there's ways to use the brokerage account that are similar kind of to like a Robinhood, but also similar to others out there that are going in this direction. Now, what we did was we actually moved money back and forth between our brokerage account. I moved $100 back out, transferred out to the brokerage account. We also did a position trade this morning just to show you guys. Here was US dollars. We traded the quantity, what the price was, and the variance right there. So that gives you a full track of all your accounts. And then if you go into Bitcoin and we want to actually do some trading of crypto, this is the crypto side of it, which again, a lot of education built into the app itself. And let's go into Bitcoin right there. We want to trade that, another $100. This is one thing they need to fix on the app, and what you'll see here, that's not that's actually a problem with the iOS app that you don't actually see the full price. So that's a concern of mine because this needs to be a little bit better use case. I think they're still working on this, but we're going to review that $100 purchase. Right there, it gives you the full scenario there on the estimated Bitcoin that you're going to get, and boom, you're done. That is as simple as it. So it's very simple to jump in and out of this. You navigate back into your crypto account, as you can see, and it holds your positions and, of course, does all the normal aspects within any other trading account out there or any other trading app out there. So overall, it's not bad. Yeah, when I look at it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give this app right now maybe a 7.5, only because it's making some pretty amazing strides in a very short period of time. Let's get into some other things here. When you look at their alternatives, which are out there, if you look at, Robinhood is going to be one. Obviously, Coinbase is going to be one that would be out there for you right now. Coinbase is a little different. You can't trade really on a brokerage side of things. I would say Robinhood would be more of the real head-to-head for Fidelity's top competitors. The ones that I think, though, that are going to be coming when we look at the potential future is Schwab. I think Schwab is going to be the one that will eventually come in and start competing with Fidelity. I mean, it seems like the natural. They, of course, acquired TD Ameritrade here recently, and the likelihood they still are in the process of even bringing those accounts across, which has not happened in its entirety. It's supposed to happen this year in 2023. I'd love to know if you guys have any TD Ameritrade accounts. Have any of yours been transferred over to the new Schwab interface yet? I'd love to kind of get your opinion on how that worked for you. But at the same time, this is Schwab's news release. I want to show you their monthly activity highlights. So 41.7 billion in new assets, 40.5 billion in total clearing. They've got 7.3 trillion in total client assets right now. This is month in February. This was down a little bit in 2023 here. And then you look at what they're trying to do, and it doesn't really get into the aspect of where their future is going. And that to me is a big fail. Schwab, of course, I can't imagine that this is not already on their roadmap, and maybe they just have not necessarily started talking about it just yet. It's very possible for that to be occurring overall. The other thing that if you look at their perspective on crypto, this is what they said right here. We see cryptocurrency as being used primarily for trading purposes outside the traditional portfolio. Quite a bit different in terms of attitude over on Fidelity's side, because they're integrating the crypto trading and the traditional trading in one app and easily movable, much like if you think about back in the days of crypto.com, or I shouldn't say in the days, but other platforms out there that you could utilize to actually trade stocks on. You're moving money in and out. A little different than Robinhood, which is kind of all integrated into one. They treat crypto and a stock purchase almost identical in terms of how the app is used. So I'd love to get your opinion on this. If you are a Fidelity user right now and maybe you've jumped into the crypto app, what do you think about it? Do you like it? Leave some comments down below. And if you do like it, is this something that you would move to, like your crypto that you're storing on your ledger or on your other exchange accounts? Would you say, you know what, I trust Fidelity, and I'm gonna, if they gave you the option, I'd move all my Bitcoin or all my Ethereum into Fidelity and go through this omnibus exposure of how to retain your assets or secure your assets? Love to get your opinion. Drop some comments down below. Make sure and stay tuned for our live streams as we drop them usually every day at 3 o'clock. If you're listening in over on the podcast side of things, we just showed you a whole bunch of stuff. So make sure and jump over here to the YouTube channel to kind of get the full experience. It's very simple. If you're not in on our Diamond Circle, get in now. It's very easy and it's free. All you have to do is click the link down below. If you want to reach me, it's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.